Welcome back to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Before we open the curtains on tonight's story, make sure you tap like, hit subscribe, and if you want to go the extra mile for the channel, click join. Your support helps us keep bringing you the intimate tales and quiet revelations shaping the lives of the stars you follow. Now, let's step into a softer kind of headline, the kind that doesn't shout but still keeps everyone listening. Tonight, the conversation everywhere is about Gökberk Yıldırım. A familiar presence in television dramas and the music scene, Gökberk has long lived in that intersection where artistry meets intense public curiosity. But what has drawn eyes and whispers this time isn't a new role or a charting song. It's a small, reflective message that appeared online and spread like a sigh across social feeds, captured in screenshots, passed from group chat to group chat. And at the heart of it, without ever raising its voice, was his relationship with Cemre Arda, a partnership fans have admired for its poise and balance. What set this message apart from the usual noise was the tone, measured, almost tender, revealing without being invasive. It opened a window not onto drama, but onto reality, one that suggested a marriage grounded in respect had been quietly reshaped by time. It didn't ask for pity or offer an excuse. Instead, it hinted at a connection that once felt effortless, glowing in the public eye, slowly becoming something primarily maintained in schedules and shared obligations. The phrase that many seized on, repeated in captions and comments, was that the bond had started to feel on paper. Not ended, not broken, just formal where it had once been warm. Followers reacted in a way that surprised even seasoned observers. The message lacked the bitterness that often follows high-profile couples. There was no push for blame, no hint of a public dispute. What people heard from between the lines was simple: love had been the anchor in the beginning, happiness their daily weather. But over the years the currents had shifted them into parallel lanes. Neither one seemed to be the villain in a familiar tabloid plot, the story was gentler, and perhaps more true. And in that gentleness, many recognized their own lives. Fans of Gökberk and Cemre, who have watched them share quiet glances on carpets and the occasional relaxed moment in interviews, felt a particular ache. They had fallen for the subtlety of the pair, Cemre's steady grace, Gökberk's reflective calm. They were never the couple to erupt for attention, they carried themselves with tidy elegance, even in the chaotic rhythm of production schedules and premieres. The post reminded everyone that even the most composed partnerships can be changed by the sheer weight of time, travel, and competing dreams. Industry voices began to wonder if Gökberk would ease back from public appearances and let the whispers settle into silence. Those who have worked with him describe a private man who prefers closing a door softly to leaving it ajar for speculation. A strategic pause seemed likely: fewer interviews, tighter circles, a focus on work without the extra lens on private life. As the screenshots kept traveling across timelines, that possibility felt less like retreat and more like a deliberate breath. What truly distinguished this episode from the usual wave of celebrity chatter was how respectful the conversation became. Neither Gökberk nor Cemre rushed to comment, share a note, or counter-interpret the message. Their silence, rather than igniting arguments, invited reflection. Fans seemed to arrive at a collective agreement: sometimes the most dignified response is no response at all. And in that quiet, the public found space to replace curiosity with empathy. The line that resonated most, a line almost every thread quoted in some form, was tucked into the message like a folded letter: there are moments when life nudges you down an unplanned detour, and eventually you pick the lane where you can finally breathe. It was not an apology. It was not a door slammed shut. It read like a promise to honor the truth of the present, even if that truth did not match the early days. It suggested that leaving a familiar path wasn't a betrayal of what came before. It was a way to keep both people whole. As the echo of that line expanded, the conversation shifted from speculation to shared stories. Longtime followers posted about their own quiet transformations, about partnerships that changed shape without collapsing under blame. The comments were full of gratitude for candid moments the couple had offered over the years and for the restraint shown now. The narrative was not a countdown to a scandal, it was a study in grace. People were surprised to find themselves protective, not demanding. They wanted to give space, not extract details. Commentators and columnists took note, framing the moment as a clear picture of how fame can alter the life cycle of love. The public performance tends to outlive the private feeling, they wrote, but it's not deception, it's inertia, an image lagging behind reality. The early connection between Gökberk and Cemre, full of easy affection and candid clips, supportive gestures on sets and stages, was still real in memory. Yet, what remained now appeared to be partnership without the same depth of shared yearning. On paper became shorthand, not a condemnation but a descriptor of shape without temperature. Cemre's name surfaced with particular tenderness in these discussions. Fans praised her composure, the careful way she has always controlled the line between what belongs to the audience and what stays at home. There was admiration in acknowledging that a person can walk away from a chapter while protecting its dignity. For his part, Gökberk was seen as choosing calm over spectacle, resisting the usual momentum toward statements or staged appearances. Together, even in transition, they gave an alternative example of how to treat a story that belongs largely to two people. In the absence of an official announcement, the conversation seemed to complete itself. Supporters understood that the missing piece might be the point: the private heart of a relationship does not need validation from public platforms. The timeline was filled with messages of thanks more than questions. People wrote that they had learned something about maturity from watching the pair keep still while the internet swirled, about acknowledging a shift without casting a villain. Silence, in this case, did not feel cold, it felt carefully kind. As the days went by, new think pieces traced a gentle arc from admiration to acceptance. Writers reflected on how a couple could evolve without erasing the sweetness of what had once been. Fans posted their favorite moments of Gökberk and Cemre, shared smiles during a backstage clip, a quick hand squeeze caught by a lens, and then, nearly in the same breath, thanked them for modeling a different sort of ending. The idea that a partnership can change into another form, a supportive, thoughtful companionship instead of romance, became the thread tying the conversation together. By the time a third wave of commentary landed, the mood was almost hushed. People weren't tallying timelines or hunting for contradictions. They were acknowledging that love can lighten and cool, that what remains can still be meaningful. The story lost its edges and settled into something more profound, a reminder that we can measure a relationship not only by its intensity but by the respect shown when the intensity fades. That measure seemed to have become the defining note for Gökberk and Cemre. In that light, the screenshots felt less like evidence and more like a lantern set down at dusk. What began as a simple post evolved into a collective meditation on how to let go without bitterness. Observers remarked that the couple's restraint made the message more powerful, not less. Without statements or declarations, they guided the audience to a gentler understanding. Some chapters end without slamming shut, some bonds become steadier, if cooler, without ceasing to matter. It was a kind of quiet courage, and it did not go unnoticed. The community's response reflected a broader, quieter shift in how we engage with the lives we watch. Instead of demanding answers, people practiced witness. Instead of staging debates, they offered memory and goodwill. The star power of the moment did not dim, but it changed color, softer and less performative. There was recognition that maintaining a public face while living a private truth is a high-wire act. Stepping down with grace is its own art form. And so the story feels rounded in its own understated way. No official statement from Gökberk Yıldırım. No official statement from Cemre Arda. Yet the path ahead appears sketched clearly enough: separate rhythms, new priorities, and the intact respect for what they built together. If anything, admiration for both has deepened, precisely because they resisted turning their life into a spectacle. For fans who have grown with them, the takeaway is not loss, it is evolution. Tell us how this moment landed with you. What do you see in the way Gökberk and Cemre carried themselves through a difficult turn? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you felt the calm courage in this story as we did, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the join button to support Whispers of Turkish Stars. We'll be back soon with more intimate, human tales from the constellation of artists you love, told with the same quiet care that this moment deserves.